Recovery rooms are a lazy man's way to signal virtue in terms of innovation in the fitness space. It's not innovative. It's not cutting edge. It's not people first. It's if I can throw enough money at bells and whistles, you'll be excited to come and see my gym. And it's the same race to the bottom, unfortunately for gym owners, as all of the other things that have come and gone in the past.
Welcome to this week's episode of Lifts. I'm Matthew Januszek, and I'm here with my co-host, Mohammed Iqbal. How are you doing today, Mo?
I'm a little bit jet lagged, Matthew.
For a change.
For a change, I mean, I had last week was an intense travel week. I think even by like our standards, and we're all known to travel very aggressively, but went off on Monday to Chicago to the Fitness Technology Summit, which was so nicely done because we kicked off that Monday night with a tribute service that our friend Al Noshavani put together for Rick Caro, who passed away, who's an industry legend and just so beautifully done. His wife was there, and some. It's funny because in that room, the joke was like everyone says they're a great friend of Rick Caro. So, so I was also a good friend of Rick Caro, and he like spoke to everyone on that Friday. But what a wonderful person, such a big contributor to our industry over so many decades. And I was in a meeting early today, just kind of talking about lifespan and health span, and we're going to get into the topic here. And I actually brought up Rick Caro in that because he passed away on a Saturday with his wife. But on the Friday, he was at the US Open having a great time and doing business and talking about the industry and just living life to the fullest. And even that week after, he was set to travel somewhere else. He was, in fact, going to celebrate his birthday at the Fitness Technology Summit. Here's a guy who not only did so much for industry, worked out every day, continued to be active, continued to be an inspiration. And when you think about how you want to live your life, it's really living life to the fullest, which I know our guest today is going to completely agree to, living it fullest all the way till the end and going knowing that you've done incredible things. And then after that, I went to Sydney where I had a great panel discussion at South by Southwest. We actually got that in recording, so we're going to try to get that on a future episode of Lifts. On the way to Sydney, my flight got diverted. I had a pit stop in Brisbane. I used that time to go to this incredible gym, which we'll come back to, called Total Fusion. But anyways, came back on Saturday, still feeling the whatever 19-hour it is time difference. But excited to do this podcast. So we're going to be talking about what is a really popular topic on our podcast. We've gotten incredible feedback around it, and that's been the subject of recovery. And hopefully people aren't tired of it hearing about more recovery, but we're always bringing a different perspective. So everywhere you look, you see cold plungers, you see red light pods, Normatec boots, cryo chambers, IV drips. The recovery movement has exploded, and it's easy to see why. I've got some data here. Global wellness is now a $5.6 trillion industry, growing twice as fast as the global GDP. So everyone wants to cash in. Within that particular segment, recovery and longevity services are among the fastest growing segments, projected to top 275 billion by 2028. That's only 2 years away, guys. But here's the paradox. While gyms are spending millions to help people feel better, are they actually helping them get better, right? You're adding all the services. Are people actually getting better? Our guest today is someone who's never been afraid to challenge the status quo. He's been outspoken. I've known Sean for a couple of years. So Dr. Sean is the founder of Active Life, which is a movement that is kind of redefining how fitness and healthcare intersect. We'll get more into that here in a minute. He's a chiropractor, he's a coach, he's an educator, always with the tightest haircut and fade. Every time I've seen him a lot, and believes the future of fitness is not just in AI or in gadgets. He really is an advocate for people. As long as I've known him, he's been an advocate for people. Sean's career is fascinating, and actually just in preparation for this pod, I learned that he turned down a pretty lucrative offer to work for his family in Hong Kong, where he was told he'd be a millionaire by 30, pretty attractive for someone in their 20s. But instead, he chose to open his first gym and clinic instead. And that decision speaks volumes for Sean and who he is as a person. And he's really focused on not only how we make an impact that matters a lot, but it matters a lot more than how much we make. So, Sean, welcome to Lyft. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you, Mohammed. I appreciate you guys having me on.
I was going to ask the first question about like, have you now decided that it was a bad idea to turn down being a millionaire by 30? But I'll let you answer that one in a minute. But maybe we'll just start first
I
with the
think it's done
conversation.
okay for. I think it's done okay.
the, the conversation that sort of got us talking is we were very much discussing a lot of the rooms that many fitness clubs are investing in, and you and I have known each other through some mutual friends for some time now, and you kind of gave a very different perspective on the trend to invest in recovery rooms that got me thinking slightly different about it. So for my first question, really is when you see many of these gyms that you're working with and we're working with as well, investing tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in these recovery rooms. What does it immediately tell you about where the industry's priorities are at the moment?
May I answer that by giving some people a little bit more background about me so that they can know where I'm coming from when I answer the question?
Yeah, you can kind of like
Yeah, yeah.
defend
So,
yourself
so
before you upset.
that's okay. So, my name is Dr. Sean Pastuch. For people who don't know anything about me, I'm best known for being the founder of my company called Active Life. I've written a book for fitness professionals on ethical sales, and I do a fair bit of public speaking. And my perspectives come from helping hundreds of people overcome their chronic pain in my clinic and in my gym. And I found myself mentoring fitness professionals from around the world to do the same for their patients and their clients. The problem that we face, that I think this whole recovery system is aimed to solve for, but I think is going to fail, is that over 50 million Americans struggle with chronic pain every single day. It costs the American economy alone more than heart disease, diabetes, and cancer combined. So when we look at the financial opportunity to solve for this problem, it makes sense that people would be going after it. It's just that I'm not sure recovery is the way to go. And we'll talk about that in a second. My aim is to develop trainers to become the people who can solve this problem. And in a world where we do that, I believe that we actually make chronic pain a thing of the past and we can start to think of fitness as healthcare. I think that that's a much more exciting way to go than just putting recovery beds in gyms. Now, my opinion on what it means about the marketplace as we go in that direction, Matthew, is people are not keen on investing in people. They'd much rather invest on a passive asset that they believe they can leverage than take a chance on a person who could burn them or who could fail or who could make mistakes or whatever the case might be. And I think that's extremely problematic and opportunistic for the people who want to zig while everyone else is zagging.
Do you think recovery rooms have become a form of retail therapy for operators? So it's an easy way to show innovation without actually improving outcomes. Because if we framed recovery not as a room, but as a practice, which is proper, which you and I have spoken about for years, but proper sleep, nutrition, stress modulation, active rest, the design of a gym might look very different than how it is today. Today, it's you've got in a lot of cases HVLP and premium recovery rooms are kind of cornered out. They're kind of this premium thing. You may have to get additional access to it. To your point, not an investment in people, right? They're typically not educating the staff on
Mhm.
the efficacies of the therapies. But one of the first exciting things people show you on a gym tour, and I go on many of those, is look at what we have in recovery.
Recovery rooms, the way I see them, recovery rooms are a lazy man's way to signal virtue in terms of innovation in the fitness space. It's not innovative. It's not cutting edge. It's not people first. It's if I can throw enough money at bells and whistles, you'll be excited to come and see my gym. And it's the same race to the bottom, unfortunately for gym owners, as all of the other things that have come and gone in the past. I'll explain. If I put a recovery room into my gym, I have to be able to sell you on why the things I chose to get are the best, why there's no better things than the ones that I bought from my gym. Well, what's going to happen next month when the companies I bought from come out with their new model and the gym down the block goes and buys that one? I now have an obsolete red light bed. What good is that? I have the model that's below the new model. So I'm in a constant chase for people think it's a passive asset that they buy once, they set it, they forget it, and it cash flows because it drives membership. They think they can advertise it. It improves retention. Nobody's actually measuring it, but they'll swear up and down that it does. But what happens is you actually have to keep buying the new version to stay up with the Joneses. And the companies who make this stuff are smart enough to know that. What they're going to be able to do is innovate just like the iPhone. We all know the iPhone 762 is ready now, but they're going to give us the iPhone 18 next, right? And so we have to keep buying the new feature. These companies will, if they're smart, they'll have buyback plans. They'll take the parts apart, they'll put them into new ones, they'll send them back out, and they'll make money hand over fist while gym owners compete on having the most expensive equipment for the lowest price to access. And that's not how we're going to move forward. To speak a little bit to the multi-trillion dollar wellness industry that you talked about before, it is a huge industry. And it's important for people to know what's included in that industry. Because oftentimes I think that the thought of wellness as a category gets both the optimism and the trash, depending on who's talking about it. If we're going to actually calculate what's a wellness product, organic produce is a wellness product, toothpaste is a wellness product, shampoo is a wellness product. And so there are basic hygiene things that we all buy all the time that fall into the wellness category. The reason why it's important that I say that is not to poo poo the value of wellness. It's because what you'll hear from the quote science based community is that the wellness industry is just a fast cash grab. When in reality, and what they're trying to do is take people who don't adhere to strict scientific study because they understand how scientific study is funded, and they'll make them seem lesser as if they're in a cash grab for $256 billion. But the reality is that most of the money in the industry is going towards hygiene and produce, not, wellness coaching.
Yeah, and I just want to comment on that really quick here. So the average gym spends, this is industry wide, spends between 5 to 8% of the annual revenue on new equipment or amenities. And a lot of times when they make the decision for adding that new red light treatment in the recovery room, they're not getting a new rack. Like that's typically because they're not going to spend more overall,
Mhm.
um, typically. Yet personal trainer turnover still sits at about 70% within the first year, which is something Sean, I know you know a lot about. And here's the thing that was glaring to me over the last couple of years. Despite all the investment in recovery, member retention has not improved. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. So the global average for member retention is around 60% year over year. So we're
Mhm.
adding these new rooms. To your point, we're not investing in personal training, which we know has a real world impact on member retention. If you're tied to a personal trainer, you have a better chance of retaining. We have data around this. But yet in recovery rooms, it's not really moved the needle on retention.
Well, if we look at the retention figures, we should also calculate what percent of the 60% who retain on the year came in. I would argue that there's probably good data that would suggest people who come into the gym are more likely to cancel than people who don't, because they're the ones who realize I'm paying for this. This is convenient or it's inconvenient. This is working or it's not working. The place is clean or it's not clean. The equipment works or it doesn't work. All of the things that come with it. And so they're the ones who are more likely to make an economic decision about whether they want to be there or not. And so not only would the recovery room not help to retain that person, but if that person looks at a room like that and gets decision fatigue over how do I use it, or feels a certain way about having to spend more money for access to it, which is an economic debate and a business model debate, then they're more likely to cancel than the person who doesn't even come in, who the gym owner is happy to keep collecting on. So the the retention thing is fickle because I don't believe that that's where it's going to be had. And I understand the reason why gym owners don't want to invest in their personal training department. I should say that too. What happens is you go to invest in your personal trainers. Your personal trainers get really busy. They start to be successful. And then they become disgruntled because they feel like they're overworked and underpaid. But you've put thousands of people in the building for them to be able to talk to, mingle with, grow trust from. And in most cases, you've even paid them to be on the floor to have those conversations. And then they leave, and those clients leave with them. And it feels like they've stolen clients out of your business who they consider to be their clients when in reality they're your clients, the gym owner. What I would urge gym owners to think about is why that consistently happens. Why is that the status quo for what happens with the training department? Why does your training department feel more like a liability than an asset? And I think that the number one reason for that is because the entire incentive structure for personal training departments is generally, there are exceptions to the rule, but if you think that you're the exception, it's probable that you're not. Um, the incentive structure is set up in such a way where the most likely outcome is what I just described. Trainers leaving, resentment felt on both sides, everyone feeling used, and a training department that feels like a liability, not an asset.
With low incomes, right? I don't know what data you have, but the data that I have access to rather, the average trainer makes just 48,000 a year.
Yeah, well, and they're going to churn at a faster rate than anybody except for hospitality workers. Here's the thing about that. If you work with a financial planner right now, they're going to tell you that you need to live in a place that costs less than 30% of your take home income, right? Your financial planner is not going to want you spending 40, 50, 60% of your income on where you live. But personal trainers are asked to do that all the time. They can't make enough money in the appropriate amount of time to be great to be able to pay for where they live. So they need a second job, they need someone else in their family contributing, and it's incentivized by doing more and more and more sessions. The more sessions that you do, the more we can pay you. We can even bonus you. The session costs $100 to the client. The trainer gets paid 36, 35, 40 bucks if they hit their bonuses, right? But then they're fried. The trainer starts to look at that and says, wait a minute, there's a $60 delta on a $100 session between what I'm paid and what the gym is paid. They don't understand what goes into the gym actually acquiring that client for them because the gym's net is going to be like 24%. It's not going to be 60, it's going to be like $24. But the trainer doesn't realize that. So the trainer says, I could train this person in their house for $70, make almost double. It's a no-brainer for the client. It's a no-brainer for me. I'm going to leave and do that. That happens all the time. Every gym owner struggles with this. When you ask the gym owner to charge enough money to pay the trainer enough money that in fewer than 30 sessions per week, they're making enough to pay for their housing with less than 30% of their income, they'll say nobody would pay that around here. If nobody would pay that around here, you are not in a market that can support personal training, or they will and you're wrong.
Just to close off the recovery question, I'd like to get your thoughts, Sean, on clearly there has been, or there is something that's driving this move towards more recovery. My guess is you've got people in the space now, big consumer brands like Whoop, Hyperice, and others that have done a great job at creating awareness around the importance of not sort of this kind of work hard, play hard mentality where it's just on the go all the time, which is probably what the fitness industry was known for, particularly coming out of some of the days of CrossFit, where it was a very, you know, you're on all the time kind of concept, where now people, whether they're business people or people going to the gym, are recognizing the importance of sleep, the importance to take care of your body, whether that's before or post workout. There's this move towards this, and it seems as though people have decided that to deliver upon that void or to capitalize on that, they're going down a particular method, so that maybe we don't totally get confused about where you stand on this point. Maybe tell us your views on where that part of an exercise program or part of your week or month or year, when it comes to, you know, working in or working out, or however you define that. Tell us your view on that, just so that maybe the listeners don't necessarily get confused that you're not necessarily saying you're anti recovery or rejuvenation of some type.
Yeah, no, that the stuff all works. I have a friend who had back surgery about a year and a half ago, and we trained together on Saturday mornings. He has a cold plunge in his backyard and he has a sauna in his backyard. And he credits the cold plunge and the sauna to him having less inflammation. He has Crohn's, that's been less active. And he credits the recovery stuff with it. Recovery stuff works. The question isn't whether it works or not, it's a question of who needs it. Is it the asset to your business that you think that it is? Is it where you should be investing your money if you're a big box gym owner who's looking to create better retention and better customer acquisition? The recovery stuff comes out of the cutting edge of things like pro sports, and everybody wants to be like the pro athlete, even though we're not the pro athlete. If you're working out really hard, you're eating a really good diet, whole food, omnivorous diet, or if someone has a different diet they want to run at me, that's fine. I'm not a nutrition expert. If you're eating a clean, healthy diet, you're working out really hard, your relationships are good, you're able to reduce your stress when it comes on, you're sleeping well, and you're looking for that extra edge, the recovery stuff is great. I think of it like a supplement that you would take to improve your response to exercise. And too often people, I believe, are thinking of it like the meal. It's not the meal, it's the supplement to the meal. So for me, we don't need to talk about the recovery stuff until after you've demonstrated that all of these other things in your life are working. And if we look at the people who are in the gym, how many of the people are all of those things working for? And if we all agree that it's not many, then we have to look at, okay, well, then what's the function of the gym? Is our goal as the gym owner to optimize monetization of every person who walks through the door at any cost? And by the way, if it is, that's fine. That's a business model. And then you put the recovery room in and you make a financial case for it. Is your idea to make as much money as you can, helping people live healthier lives? Is that what your marketing says? Is that what you say in the private rooms? Is that what you say in the public rooms? If that's the case, then I think that we have to look at the question of, are we doing the best job that we can for the people who are already coming to us to make sure that they can live healthy, long lives? And if we're not, is the recovery room the thing that we should be focusing on financially and energetically, or should it be something else? And that's where my bifurcation of ideas comes from.
So, Sean, you've been one of the loudest voices, and you just touched on this a little bit, saying that fitness must evolve into healthcare. I'm a big believer of it. Matthew's a big proponent of that as well. That's a really powerful statement, and one that is already showing up in data. According to Deloitte, 70% of consumers now see fitness and healthcare as part of the same ecosystem. And nearly half of primary care doctors say that they prescribe exercise, they would prescribe rather exercise programs if reimbursement models existed. So when you say fitness is healthcare, what does it actually look like in practice?
I don't think we want our doctors prescribing exercise programs for reimbursement. What we do want our doctors doing is finding fitness providers who they can trust to provide the fitness program. The same way that a doctor wouldn't want a trainer interpreting somebody's blood work without extensive practice and then saying, you might have cancer, when in reality, they have a cold and their white blood cells are high, right? We don't want trainers to play doctor and we don't want doctors to play trainer. So I think that's an important thing to start with. When I describe fitness as healthcare, I think that we can look at it in two different buckets. There's preventative healthcare, which is what I would say most of fitness already is. And then there's responsive healthcare, which is something has already happened to me, but I'm not set for the medical system. How can I use the fitness industry to resolve the problem that I've just run into? So preventative fitness as preventative healthcare would be things like your group fitness classes, your person who just walks into the commercial gym and does a workout because they like being healthy. It's a person who is aiming for maybe an aesthetic goal, maybe a sports performance goal, maybe a social goal, but they use fitness as a conduit to that. All of those things are undeniably preventative healthcare. Responsive healthcare is somebody is dealing with, for example, chronic aches and pains, which is where we come in. And they say, the reason I can't go to the gym, the reason I'm less active, the reason I've gained weight is I've had back pain for the last 10 years. The physical therapist told me this is the best that it's going to get. I went to the gym and the trainer told me we can work around this, no problem. But I really don't want to work around this anymore. I want to resolve it. It's obviously not a medical problem. The physical therapist has already told them this is the best it's going to get. And there are really good reasons for that, by the way. It's not that physical therapists are bad people who don't want you to be healthy. It's that generally speaking, their education in physical therapy school is taught so that they can meet the reimbursable solutions that health insurance will provide. Health insurance companies are funding some of those schools. So it makes sense. No one would go to physical therapy school if they were going to come out and make the $19 an hour that a personal trainer makes. No one would do it. No one would take the loans. So they learn how to help people get back to what's called an ADL, activity of daily living. It's important we go through this just so that people can understand the gap. An activity of daily living are things like washing yourself, being able to drive your car, being able to go to work, being able to sleep through the night, even being able to walk a given distance. But if you went to the physical therapist and told them, okay, I can squat, but I can't squat more than 135 pounds without my knee starting to bother me. The physical therapist is not going to be able to put that on their pre authorization for visits. Insurance won't pay for that. That is quality of life. If you said, I can coach my kids' little league team, but after I throw the ball 5 or 10 times, my shoulder really starts to hurt, iffy, iffy, right? If you said, I want to be able to throw the ball to the outfield, physical therapy is not going to get reimbursed for that. So physical therapists are not trained on how to solve for that. The model doesn't afford it. The financial model doesn't afford it. The equipment that they typically have in their clinics doesn't afford it. And the physical therapists who are shaking their head right now and saying, I do that, also have experience in the fitness world. They have education from the strength and conditioning space or from the fitness world that they apply to the way that they deliver physical therapy. So they are a bit of a hybrid. They're an exception to the rule. When a person comes and says something like, I've not been able to lift weights for 10 years because I'm tired of working around it. Physical therapist told me it's the best it's going to get. They need somebody who understands how to meet them there and genuinely help them overcome that problem. That's responsive fitness as healthcare. Do you guys follow the difference between responsive and preventative? I believe preventative fitness as healthcare is the volume model, and responsive is the highly trained, highly skilled human professional model. Both have their place, both are critical. The doctor is going to refer to the responsive because the patient has a problem, or the doctor is going to tell the patient, you can probably resolve your problem in the preventative space. That's where I believe we need to go using fitness as healthcare.
You've got a lot of more experience in this than what I have, and so for my benefit, and maybe the benefit of some of the listeners as well, is where would you say the industry is, and many of the trainers in the industry, in terms of the level of knowledge and education they have to be able to provide that level of service? Because when I talk to many gym owners, they say that they're struggling to get good trainers. Now, maybe that comes back to your earlier point where the compensation structure isn't that where they're going to attract some of those good people, and many of those people are now off doing things on their own. But I was just curious to know, do we uh, I seem to remember some of those reports from the education companies saying that people that are coming in the industry and training for personal training is also going down. So I'd just be curious to know, is there plenty of trainers out there, but we're not necessarily connecting the dots in the right way? Or is there a requirement for people to be able to specialize and go on to do what you refer to here, which is to become more or to be able to evolve more into this healthcare model?
I think there's a few things here. First, there are plenty of trainers out there for these people to hire, but second, I wouldn't even necessarily be looking for them. I think the mistake is looking for trainers instead of looking for people who can be developed into trainers. So I don't know if all of us have kids. Do all of us have kids?
Yeah,
You ever buy a toy for your kid and it doesn't come with the batteries?
all the time.
Right. So I think that there's two types of people that we're looking for. There are the ones who come with the batteries included, and there are the ones who come without the batteries included. The ones who come with the batteries included, you just open the box and push start and the toy works. Those are going to be expensive. Then there are the ones that you buy that don't have the batteries included that should cost less, who understand that they need to be developed, that they don't know what they're doing, but that want to learn. Those are people who can grow within the business if there's proper development in place for them. That goes back to the incentive structure we were talking about before, which I don't think this podcast is meant to be about. But we've worked with, for example, a big box gym in a very particular market where personal training was a real struggle. When we got to them, they were doing in about 80,000 square feet, a very successful gym. They were doing roughly $18,000 a month in personal training revenue. Within a year and a half, that same club was doing about $73,000 a month in personal training revenue with 60% of the volume of staff. And one of the things that we did is when people came in as new members, they would give them a QR where they asked them, what is most important to you if we could solve the problem for you? Is it improving the way your body looks? Is it losing weight? Is it learning how to use the equipment? Or is it getting out of pain? They had never asked people this before. Getting out of pain got more responses than the other three categories combined. And we had been training their trainers to be able to responsibly make promises to help their clients get out of pain through fitness as healthcare, responsive fitness as healthcare. None of the trainers knew how to do this when they started. None of them. And so we couldn't make this promise that we're going to get you out of pain on day one and charge a premium for it. We put on their intake on the trainer card, like this is what our trainers are. This is why they cost what they cost. This level of a trainer has this education and can solve these problems. This level of a trainer has this education and can solve these problems. This level of a trainer has this education and can solve these problems, and so on. So people knew what they were buying when they bought. Do you follow? They were buying a
Yeah.
solution to a
Does any of the just to interject there, like, does any of that have to do with the with the specific demographic that you're going after? Because I may not be correct on this, but I assume that as people get older, pain is more of an issue. Whereas if you have a facility that's really
Yeah.
targeting at younger people, that may not be as much of a case. I'm not sure whether that's correct or not, but that's just my
Yeah.
perception.
That's true. So yes, two things to that. The average client of a trainer who we develop is going to be over 40, probably even over 50. The average person walking into a gym, your gym, might not be. But now here's the thing that I think any gym owner is wise to think about. What percent of your gym do you think is actually going to buy personal training and use it on a monthly basis? If you can get to 2%, you are above industry standard. So I would argue we're not looking for the average person in your gym. We're looking for the specific person in your gym who actually wants to pay more money for a specific service. The gym we were working at that I'm talking about was a Gold's. People don't typically go to Gold's to get out of pain. It's not what they're known for. And yet it worked. The education in the market, one of the things that I find funny and interesting is that 6 years ago when we started doing this, the number one criticism that I got was you shouldn't be training trainers to do things that were once reserved for physical therapists. Okay, if physical therapists were doing it, people wouldn't need it. That was effectively my argument. And it's not in the scope of the physical therapist. If they called their malpractice insurance and asked them if I did the things that Active Life is teaching their clients to do, would I be covered? The answer would be no. If they called the insurance providers, would I be reimbursed? The answer would be no. If I call the malpractice provider for the insurance of a trainer, the answer would be yes. So it is in the trainer scope, not in the medical scope. Um, but everyone told me that 6 years ago. Now what we're seeing is countless people popping up promising to train trainers to get people out of pain in courses that are 10 hours long, 12 hours long, 3 months long, which is what we did 6 years ago and have moved on from because it was sub quality, substandard. We actually weren't getting consistent results out of the trainers. And so I think we would be really wise as a fitness industry to get clear on who we're great for and who we're not great for, and then to find people to refer to when it's not our person. Because then we don't have to pretend that we're great at everything and allow it to affect our ego when we identify that we're not. I'll give you an example. Our average client in our brick and mortar in Long Beach, which is our test kitchen, Long Beach, New York, our average client's 57 years old. Something hurts and they have a comorbidity. They've tried working with other personal trainers, they've tried physical therapy, they've tried going to group fitness, and it hasn't worked. And they've been told this might be the best that it's going to get. That's our bread and butter client. Every trainer would love to believe that that's a person that they also could help. Fine. We get people coming in. We used to get it much more. Now that people know who we are, we don't. Who would ask, "Hey, I want to lose 20 pounds and get shredded." We say, "That's awesome. We would love to refer you to a trainer at Hollywood. They're going to be much better at helping you with that than we are." Hollywood is another gym in town. People would come in and say, "I want to get better at this sport." We'd say, "That's amazing. We want to refer you to Athlete Protocol." Could we do those things? Yes, we could do those things. But that is not the thing that we do. And so we will never do it as well as the places who focus on doing it. And if the fitness industry could take a cue from the medical system, there are primary care and there are specialists, and that system is flawed. But if I'm having a heart attack, I still want a doctor. And I think that we want people thinking about the fitness industry the same way. If I'm having a problem that I can't solve and and the medical system can't solve, I want to use fitness as healthcare and find a specialist. I think we want that.
Well, I want to just quickly move and talk about the gym floor and training equipment because if fitness is moving towards healthcare, then the environment itself and our thinking of what a gym is like needs to evolve. And you said before that we've been obsessed with gear worship, which is so true. Matthew and I tour gyms all the time. And a lot of times the gym manager or owner will say, "Hey, look at this equipment over here. Look at how nice this line looks over here. Look at this new line of these fancy treadmills." From your lens, what truly belongs in a modern results driven gym? Because when I look at the data, the average US facility spends about 120,000, maybe a little bit more annually uh, on equipment depreciation. Yet they only spend 15,000 on staff development and education. To me, that is a story about really where the priorities lie. But what do you think from an equipment perspective it should belong in a modern gym?
I think that there's a reasonable answer for why they're only spending $15,000 on the staff education, and that is because a lot of the staff education doesn't yield results. Why would I spend money on education that's not actually making me more money? At the end of the day, I'm a business owner too. I have staff at our own brick and mortar. I can't justify investing in things that don't have an ROI. It has to have an ROI. And most of the education on the marketplace doesn't. It's a checkbox. So the answer to your question specifically is it depends on what kind of fitness you are. Are you preventative fitness as healthcare or are you responsive fitness as healthcare? And if you're preventative fitness as healthcare, it's whatever is going to get people to come in and use your space. An Orange Theory shouldn't have the stuff, for example, that a Gold's should have. And the Golds might not have the stuff that the Lifetime is going to have because they're not going to charge what the Lifetime is going to charge for access to the equipment that they're buying. If you're Responsive, you don't necessarily need most of the stuff that those other places are buying. You need the stuff that is specific to your clientele. So I can share with you what we have in our space to give you an example of what I believe a boutique responsive fitness as healthcare model needs to be able to help people overcome chronic pain. We have a cable system for every single client on the floor. We have a Concept 2 bike erg for everyone on the floor. We have a set of selectorized dumbbells for everybody on the floor. We have one ski erg so that if somebody is morbidly obese, they don't have to be afraid they're going to break the treadmill or the bike. We have two self-powered treadmills. And then we have we have a landmine and a barbell at every single space for every single client. And then we have dumbbell free weights and kettlebells. And that basically fills out all of the equipment that we have in our entire space. Because we don't optimize for equipment variety, we optimize for professionals using equipment as tools to help individuals achieve very specific goals. You have to be able to define the result you want to be able to promise to the client. Then you define the process through which you're going to promise that result actually happens. Then you back into what equipment will I need to be able to responsibly do that. A surgeon needs a scalpel, a primary care doc doesn't.
I want to move on to technology as we're sort of coming to the end of our conversation. Had a lot more questions for you. Maybe we'll have to get you back for a part two. But we're certainly seeing the increase in wearables, trackers, AI coaching, and certainly from the time that we've spent together, I also know that you're known for your minimal reliance on technology. Give us your views on I guess where things are going from a tracker and AI perspective, and a little bit about your philosophy around technology, specifically as it relates to your business, which is to train people and to get them back to health again.
Technology, especially AI, is going to change everything. It's already changing everything. And it's important that people understand I'm resistant to diving all in on technology when that's not your strong suit. But to deny it's happening or to resist it happening is to continue taking your horse to work when cars are coming out. Like you're just not going to be able to compete anymore. So anything for a business right now, a training business that is minutia, that is process oriented, that takes time, that's a maintenance task, can probably already be replaced by technology with 90 to 95% accuracy. It still requires your 5 to 10% review, edit, oversight, but most of it's already happening. And it's better than we can do it ourselves. What I think is incumbent upon anybody in the fitness industry as it pertains to technology is to lean on people who are creating great technology and apply it for the uses that you need, not to play technology creator, right? If I want an app, I'm coming to Mo. If I want a technology backbone for my business, I'm not going to go out and source a team from the Philippines to build it myself. It's crazy. I'd rather spend twice as much and do it once than spend half as much and do it 4 times. Does that answer that question for you?
No, it certainly does. And unfortunately, as Matthew said, we could go on. We got to bring it back because I think we can do a whole nother episode with the amount of knowledge that you're bringing to us. But we like to wrap up each episode, as you know, Dr. Sean, with a key takeaway. So we covered a lot of ground today. But if you could, pick one key takeaway, either from this episode or something that you want our audience to walk away with, what would that be?
Fitness is healthcare, and healthcare understands, for all of its flaws, where its limits are. Healthcare understands who's the right patient for that clinic, who's the wrong patient for that clinic, and where should we send them if they're the wrong patient for us. And each specialist in the healthcare system has specific specialized education to responsibly deliver their specialty to their patients. The fitness industry has to stop trying to be everything to everybody and start making smaller promises to fewer people that they can deliver on every single time. And then everyone in the fitness industry will have more clients, more reputation, and more money than we know what to do with.
I think that that's powerful. Matthew.
Yeah, I like Sean's philosophy. I guess it's his business philosophy, which clearly works well. I've known some of the success stories that Sean has shared with me, and I think we can provide some information if you'd like to get in touch with Sean to learn a little bit more about this and to find out what he's doing with other businesses and how he's working with a lot of other key players in the industry. But it's also a great reminder about really focusing on where your strengths are or where you want to play to win, and leaving the rest to others, whether that's the example that you gave around the doctor, and different doctors have different speciality, and when it comes to trainers in the fitness industry, or whether it comes to a fitness industry model. Like, I think a lot of my experience in the industry is there are still a lot of one size fits all, or mass providers of the term fitness or even recovery to many different people. And I think, as we've learned from today's conversation, there are many different layers, or different channels that you can plug into, all with very different requirements from a individual perspective, from an education perspective, from an equipment perspective. And I think those are really sort of solid business practices that we can all continue to remind ourselves on a regular basis. So, yeah, Mo, what are your what did you take away?
Today we just spoke a lot about people, and I'm so immersed in just tech and AI and wearables. And I did a post, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, on LinkedIn, where I talked about all of these lawsuits that we cover, right, that are happening. Apple is suing Massimo over blood oxygen. Whoop is suing Polar, or an Ultra Human, are going back and forth. And then Garmin has a lawsuit with, I think Strava sued Garmin, even though that seems like that's going to be settled. All of these are battling down to the same thing, which is data, because whoever owns the data will train the AI, and that defines the future of health. And here's the irony, just from thinking about this entire episode, you know who has the most data? It's the gyms and the coaches. They have the most data, which is focused on real human outcomes, and they're not using it. Right? How many gyms actually track members? I know, Sean, you do in your gym, but how many gyms actually track this member with this condition, went through this program and had this outcome, and then are actually leveraging that to create better and better outcomes?
Mhm.
So we know who shows up, we know who stays, we know who's quitting the gym, yet we keep chasing gadgets, right? We're talking about wearables, we're talking about new equipment, and all the things. So my key takeaway, I probably got a couple. Number one, we started with recovery. So I think if I understood what Sean was saying, recovery is not a room, it's really about a relationship. The best recovery tool is actual education, not adding cold plunges into your gym. The second one I would say is fitness is becoming healthcare. So upskilling coaches, not adding amenities. So again, focus on people. And then finally, because I spend most of my day dealing with data and how to use data. And the real winners of data will be those who can use it to help empower people and make better coaches and not replace them. And I've always said AI is not going to replace a trainer, it's going to make them better. And I think this episode kind of talked about that. So it's just, to me, it's just this focus on and doubling down and investing in the human connection, both in your staff and also in your members.
May I just, to close out before we leave, throw a lifeline to the gym owners who are listening, who are wanting their trainers to be successful? I talked in the beginning about the book that I wrote, Turn Pro: The Fitness Professional's Guide to Ethical Sales and Career Fulfillment. I own the United States trademark on the term ethical sales. I went and bought that trademark because we do it. Ethical sales is only and always selling to people in the market for what you have. Um, I want to make that book available for free to anyone who wants to read that book and learn how to sell better, because I believe that a lot of the overpromise and under delivery in the fitness market comes from an inability to close the deal when the deal needs to be closed, and therefore a scarcity mindset around where is my next client going to come from. Somebody who is confident that they can sell does not have to live in that mindset. And so any one of your listeners can download that book. I can give you the link. It's 100% free form.
Yeah,
We'll be
send
sure
us
to
a
include
link,
that.
and we'll make sure that anyone who's interested knows how to access that. Well, thank you very much, Sean, for your time today. Really appreciate it. Great conversation. We will be getting you back when we're next in the area. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then please share it with a couple of people. If you can give us a like and a comment, and that will help us bring more guests, wonderful guests like Sean, onto this podcast. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.